They say no one survives a night at the Osun Shrine. But if we make it out, we'll be legends. The village of Osogbo had its secrets, nestled near a dense forest. It was a town full of whispered stories and lingering shadows. Among its mysteries was the Osun Shrine, a place of reverence for some, but a source of dread for most. Locals told tales of those who'd ventured there after dark, only to disappear, leaving nothing but eerie legends behind. Tony, Sharon, and James. However, the legends were little more than ghost stories meant to scare kids. The three friends were on the brink of adulthood, hungry for adventure and eager to prove their bravery.
Let's spend a night at the Osun Shrine,
Tony whispered, his eyes shining with excitement.
If we make it, we'll be legends.
James and Sharon exchanged glances, hesitant. But the thrill of the unknown was intoxicating. They shook hands, sealing the deal. Little did they know, they just set themselves on a path toward terror. A sudden gust of cold wind rustled the trees, as though the forest itself were warning them to turn back. Midnight arrived, and the three gathered at the edge of the forest. The moon was high, casting eerie shadows that stretched like ghostly fingers across the path. The air was unusually still, the silence heavy with foreboding. With flashlights flickering, they stepped into the dense woods. Branches creaked in the darkness, and strange shapes seemed to watch from the shadows. After what felt like an eternity, they arrived at the shrine. It was ancient, crumbling stone draped in moss, with offerings scattered around feathers, coins, and beads glinting faintly in the moonlight. A gust of icy wind rushed past, making the trees shiver. Sharon glanced around nervously.
This place. It feels like it's watching us.
Come on!
Tony said, trying to hide his own unease.
It's just a bunch of old rocks.
But, as they lit a small fire, the shadows seemed to close in, stretching and shifting in unnatural ways. A whisper, soft and ghostly, drifted through the air. Leave. Or stay forever. As the hours crept by, the three tried to shake off their nerves with laughter, swapping ghost stories to fill the unsettling silence. But suddenly, their voices died away as a faint, ghostly whisper drifted through the darkness. Sharon's voice trembled.
Did you hear that?
The whisper came again, chilling them to the bone. Leave, or stay forever. A cold fear gripped them as they scanned the darkness. Then they saw her, a woman in white, her eyes glowing faintly as she watched them from the shadows. Her presence was both ghostly and threatening, as though she held the power of the shrine itself. James's hands shook as he tried to laugh it off, but his voice broke.
It's probably just our imaginations.
But then, the woman moved closer, her gaze fixed on them, and they realized this was no imagination. She extended a hand, her voice soft but filled with sorrow. You have trespassed. Now, you must face the price. The woman glided closer, her movements eerily silent. Her face was shrouded in a veil, but her eyes shone with a sorrowful rage. She stopped just beyond the firelight, extending a hand toward them, her fingers ghostly pale. You have trespassed, she murmured, her voice a haunting whisper that seemed to echo through the trees. Now, you must face the price. Tony swallowed hard, his voice barely a whisper.
We didn't mean any harm. We just wanted to.
The goddess does not forgive those who disturb her shrine. Her voice grew cold, and the air turned thick and oppressive. The fire flickered, casting twisted shadows that danced around them. Leave now, she commanded, or be lost to the night. In a panic, they scrambled to their feet. But as they turned, they realized the forest around them had changed. Paths had vanished, and towering trees formed a twisted maze, trapping them. They ran blindly, each step only leading them deeper into the shrine's haunting maze. Panic gripped them as they tried to find their way out. But every path led them back to the shrine. The trees seemed to close in, branches twisting and reaching out like skeletal fingers, ensnaring them in a living nightmare. The woman watched them from the shadows, her sorrowful eyes following them wherever they went. No matter how fast they ran, they would find themselves back at the shrine, as though bound by an invisible force.
This isn't real.
James gasped, clutching his chest, his face pale with terror. But the nightmare was all too real, and every turn brought them back to the shrine. Shadows deepened, the air grew colder, and whispers filled the darkness, taunting them. To leave, one must stay in the shrine's eternal grip. Forever. Exhausted and defeated, they stumbled back to the shrine. Collapsing in front of the altar, the woman appeared again, her voice soft but unyielding. The goddess offers mercy, but only to out of 3 may leave. The words hung heavy in the air, filling them with dread. Escape meant sacrifice, one of them had to remain behind, bound to the shrine for eternity. Sharon's eyes filled with tears.
No, we can't.
But Tony, the one who had dared them, stepped forward, his face pale but resolute.
I started this. It's only right I end it.
The woman nodded, and as she extended her hand, shadows curled around Tony, drawing him into the darkness. His last sight was of Sharon and James, their tear-streaked faces fading as they were released, stumbling back into the woods, free from the shrine's curse. Years later, villagers claimed to see a figure at the shrine, watching them from the shadows. Tony's sacrifice became legend, whispered among the villagers. Sharon and James returned, forever haunted by that night, yet never speaking of it. But the villagers kept telling stories of the Shrine, tale of the young man who had given his life to appease the goddess. Years later, travelers passing by the shrine claimed they saw a figure in the shadows, standing watch. They swore they heard faint whispers in the window, warning to those who dared approach, leave or stay forever. The legend of the Osun Shrine continued, a curse that haunted Osogbo, waiting for the next soul brave or foolish enough to tempt its power.